Welcome back, Cryptonauts, to the Power Cosmic channel. Today on Crypto Shill, we have the return of Forex Shark to discuss BREAP and its new staking feature of Moon Vaults. Enjoy.
Because after that point in time when they go in, they'll screw themselves and you. So I'm
Well,
not
the thing is
yeah.
when they go in, 90% of their value is transferred over to Rake and B Reap. So as the APY goes down, the price of Rake is going up. So it should offset it enough that um that if the it should offset it enough that the amount that the APY goes down is made up for in the price appreciation of Rake and more people buying Rake, knowing that the buy pressure is going to continue far after people stop adding capital to the pools.
No,
Actually,
I
I have to.
absolutely agree.
All right, I have to go real
Um
quick. I'll be right back.
but
Sorry,
yeah,
I
so
have a
yeah,
call.
so to finish what I was saying, was that that analysis I talked about was assuming a constant price for rake. So obviously I'm still kind of figuring out what's the price impact of certain buy pressure or token burning. I haven't figured that out yet. So the analysis I was talking about hoping that no one apes in after you at a certain point, that applies if you forecast a constant price for rate. But of course, as Forex says, if the price does increase, um, then hopefully it offsets the dilution. But then what's the break even? I can't give an answer yet. I don't know. But I mean, mathematically, you would imagine there would be a break even, like you need X percentage of price appreciation to combat Y% of dilution. So conceptually it sounds about right, but I mean the I'm sure he did the math already. I just don't have access to the same numbers he does.
Not yet.
Yeah, but I mean essentially what I think we need is we definitely need the normal vaults, the Venus normal vaults, because we do have a large population of apes, but there is a large population of like um conservative people, and by conservative, they are still relatively degenerate, but conservative from a crypto perspective. Huge amounts of TVL in BUS in various stable coins, that would love to go kind of to the next highest yielding but safe farm, right? So they the guys with 6-digit BUSDs and stuff, they wouldn't, like, when the next goose clone comes out, they're not gonna dump it there because they're scared, right? They're scared to get robbed. But then so they put it on auto, right? Because they think, yeah, auto's been around for a while and it's safe. But then they may or may not know rake exists, given our awareness is just not as good yet. And I know we're working on it, but the fact still lies, a lot of people probably don't know we exist. So when these guys know we exist, and they have faith and they build confidence that we are basically as safe as auto or more, um then they look at the rates and they realize, holy crap, I can put my 100 grand USDC here and get, like, triple the rates I get in auto. And then that's when these guys start flooding in. And if you look at auto, their single stick Venus vaults are half of their TVL. So I wouldn't be surprised, like our TVL, if we have the single vault Venus one, I wouldn't be surprised if our TVL doubles overnight. Um, and that will actually generate a lot of buy pressure, because profits from these vaults are used to buy back rake and to burn. So that would definitely boost price appreciation further. And as we know, because supply and emission is fixed, so it doesn't affect like the inflationary demand at all. So it's only a good thing. So I do really think, outside of marketing, we definitely need the single Venus vaults. Yeah, that's just my view.
No, I only heard the last like 10% of what you were saying. Um, So
I'm sure you already know all of it, dog.
well, maybe. I mean, I heard the end you saying that we need the Venus wallets. I don't think we need the Venus wallets, since the Venus wallets are not doing 94%. They're doing 94% less buybacks than the current wallets that we have now. So we have a single token, single asset staking pool right now that has 96% larger buyback and burn ratios. I don't see how adding an additional option for single asset staking that has burn back and buy ratio that's actually it's like 97% lower is going to have some massive effect on the price.
Oh yeah, I mean you have the because I have no idea what I'm only assuming the kind of buyback pressure is the same because I don't know what the buyback pressure per vault or
No,
token is per TVL dollar. So you clearly have that number. So
yeah.
that's
So
that's interesting to know. Yeah.
with
Could you
Venus,
yeah.
with the Venus pools, first of all, there's only less than 4% of all of the capital in the farm in the Venus pools. So that's not that's such a tiny amount is really having a negligible effect. And if we were to open the Venus pools and give people the option to get into those pools over the Moonlocker pools, the Venus pools are only doing 3% buyback every time it compounds, and that 3% is only 3% of the harvested rewards, right? So it's not even 3% of the TVL. It's 3% of the rewards since the last time it compounded. So it's the amount of buy pressure that Venus would have compared to the current single asset vaults that we have is not even 3% of the current ones we have. That's why we could have relaunched Venus pools. That would have been easy to do. The reason why we didn't is because we have this other option for single asset lockers that are that's taking 90% of the total value locked and putting it right into the price appreciation of Rake and BREAP. So you wouldn't do this for liquidity pair tokens, because liquidity pair tokens are different. You can't sell them on you can't swap a liquidity pair token for an individual asset like Rake, but you can take individual assets like WBNB or BUSD or BTCB or any of these and set up a protocol where it's taking a percentage of the locked funds and turning it into BNB and then going directly to buying Rake and BREAP and then burning that Rake and BREAP. So right now, so far, for the USDC pool, it's done a 30% buyback and burn. So it took 30% of the TVL and used it to buy Rake and BREAP. It did USDT 30%. And it did Link at 50%. Link is and it did Dot. Dot was the first one it did at 50%. It did 50% of the Dot and Link because they're smaller pools, and it did 30% because we have a calculation worked out where if it's going to affect the price over a certain point, it will reduce the amount that it's buying back with. That is just to spread out that buy pressure a little bit, so it's not like massive spikes, and then you don't want massive spikes because even though we have the allowed slippage low, if it's currently at the levels that we're currently with the percentage that we're using for buybacks with the allowed slippage, it doesn't really make sense for a bot to try to front run it because we know exactly how much we're going to be buying. We can keep our allowed slippage very tight, and as long as we don't have super huge buybacks, that percentage is that you can't have it exactly what you're buying. You need to have some wiggle room there. But we can have it tight enough because we know exactly what we're buying and what the price impact will be and what the current market conditions are. And and then it's just about keeping the buybacks not so large that even that tight amount of wiggle room is worth buying, right? So that's why USDC is doing 30%, USDT is doing 30%, but DOT is doing 50% right now. And we did the first couple of them manually just to get it kicked off to make sure everything is running smooth, which it is. And we are about to set it so it's happening, it's automated. But the way we're doing it right now manually is we can see when the automated contract would tell it to happen, and we're just pushing it manually right now, just to be extra cautious when we first kicked it off. We'd rather do it manually. That way, if there was an issue, we could just stop doing it. There's no contract automatically doing it into the future, right?
Right, Forex. So just to wrap up the point. So if I understand what you're saying is that the buyback pressure per dollar of TVL, so essentially kind of the buyback efficiency of the Venus vaults is extremely low. So what you're saying is even if we add in a huge amount, like huge amounts of TVL flow in, it's still kind of the buyback pressure is still kind of low just because of the low efficiency. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, see, if we didn't have these moonlocker pools, then I would say fine. That's fine. We can introduce more of these single asset pools in Venus, because a little bit of buy pressure through allowing these single asset pools is better than no buy pressure. But it's not a difference between the Venus pools with single assets or no single assets. It's the difference between the Moonlocker contracts, which are using 90% of the TVL to buy back rake and B-reap and burning it, compared to the other option, which would be the Venus, which are the same token. So it's a direct one-to-one option here. And the Venus ones would be not 0.3. It would be 3% of the rewards when they compound. So it's not even 3% of the TVL. It's 3% of the rewards. If you look at the APY, that would be like it might be like 3% of maybe 30% of the APR, right? So, or sorry, 3%. Say the APR is 30%. It could be 3% of 30% of the TVL, right? So right now, with the having the Moonlocker contracts is doing 90% of the TVL, compared to 3% of 30% of the TVL, right? So it's a much much more efficient way to take the capital that is in the vaults and put them directly into rake and directly into B-reap. So if we only had one option to either do Venus or nothing at all, I would say we would do Venus. We would just relaunch some Venus contracts. But we have these Moonlocker contracts, and that's something that sets us apart from the other farms as well, because the other farms don't have any single asset staking that does you know almost complete TVL buybacks. there's no other farm that's doing that.
Right. So I understand your point on the buyback per TVL efficiency of the Moon Locker, and I also note your point on the extremely low buyback efficiency of the typical Venus vaults. But just as a thought experiment, you know the Moon Locker does indeed need a certain kind of risk-seeking behavior. So theoretically, if we do have huge, let's say we have hundreds of millions of TVL that will not go into Moon Lockers but would go into Venus Vaults, and if we bring those guys over, is kind of would the impact be minimal because of the minimal efficiency, even if the TVL we bring over is large, or like would it be kind of significant impact? I'm just curious to know your
I'll
numbers
just
behind that.
add, it would be extremely high risk individual that would lock their coins forever, not a low risk. Somebody who's going to lock their coins
No, no,
forever is a high risk.
sorry, I was sorry, I was
Yeah.
referring to the other way. So
I
like
know what you're saying. We would need
yeah.
like 33 times the TVL, right? To make it worth doing, we would need 33 times the TVL. So right now, to about, so to right now we have something that works perfectly for exactly what we're doing. If we were going to launch the Venus pools, it would be taking a gamble that we would be that we would receive at least 33 times the TVL that we have in the Moon Lockers to even make it worth doing. Because if you have if you have something that allows people to stake and withdraw, they might be more willing to do that, but that has a way less of a that'll cause way less of a price appreciation on rake and BREAP. So it's so just having these lockers like this, like how we currently have it, are much better for all of the pools combined and just rake and BREAP holders, unless we could somehow get like 33 times, or that's 33 times where it is right now. I'm sure we're going to get a lot more staked into these single asset vaults in Moonlocker, because that it's only like an hour old, and all the other pools we did like 4 or 5 times what was in it over the first few days, right? So each day we were doubling up or close to doubling every single day. So yeah, I just don't see that happening. I don't see Venus getting 33 times the amount of TVL. And I just don't think that it's worth it with all of the things we have going on with the farm and the things that are going to be coming up with the farm, to be sitting here talking about Venus like over and over again. It keeps coming up, and it's like there's I don't know why it keeps coming up, but I guess just because that's the one thing where deposits are closed, so that's the one thing people want to talk about, because that's just how people are. I don't know, but
Well, I mean, it's because we it would be used, it would like probably the questions would stop when we know that it's what 33 times, 22 times the TVL to make it as efficient. Because a lot of people basically, well, I mean, excluding the dumb ones that just, but the logical ones ask about it because they look at, they look at auto and they see that the Venus vaults there take it's half the TVL. So naturally, without access to kind of the buyback per TVL efficiency, they naturally assume, oh, majority of the price appreciation is due to that. You know what I mean? So, dropping those numbers there, like the low buyback efficiency, needing 22 or 33, I forgot the number, times more
yeah,
TVL.
currently it's
Yeah,
33. It'll probably
yeah.
be more as more people enter in the Moon Lockers. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the piece of the puzzle that most of us lack. So now that I know that, the decision to not release the Venus vaults kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, thanks for answering my question.
Oh, no problem. It's also that there's issues with the Venus Vaults, which is the reason why we paused them in the first place, and the reason why Beefy does not have their auto Venus Vaults currently available for deposit. There's issues with those vaults, and there's issues that auto pushed into a bunch of other projects that are using the same Venus contracts. So that's why we immediately paused them, to avoid any kind of potential issues that would have came from using part of Auto's contract that a bunch of other dev teams have realized there is an issue with it. So we didn't want to take any risk. We paused them like less than 5 minutes after launch, and came up with this alternative solution, which is going to add a lot more buy pressure than Venus ever would anyways.
DM, please. Check your DM for sorry guys.
Hey, are you able to easily clone these things onto other networks like Matic? Because Matic's really popping off, and I don't know if it's just a couple lines of codes to swap it over there or not. But if you could duplicate Breep across multi-networks or come up with clones on other networks.
Yeah. Well, I don't know too much about Matic, but it looks like there is a way to do a Matic BEP2 token that has like a 1-to-1 swap ratio. I haven't looked too much into it, but I'm sure it's possible. It's just
They're just copying Uniswap right now. I mean, it's literally a copy, but on a different network. So I was thinking you could copy Breep onto other networks to increase the attraction ratio or something. I'm sorry, I'm thinking out the box right now. I don't know if I'm accurate.
yeah, I'm sure I could. It would just need to make sense. Like it would need to be a significant amount of new investors that would come into it. I'm not seeing people talking about Matic like in all the different groups and stuff right now, but if
Oh
it's a
yeah, you
simple
will
thing to
though.
do.
You will. Just
Oh
hang
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Matic is good.
What benefit does Matic have to Binance Smart
No
Chain?
fees, none, not like 0.000000046 transaction fee cents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Matic is
but
strong.
like, how are they getting that reduced fee?
Well, you have to take your Ethereum and then you pay a fee to offboard your Ethereum from the Ethereum network onto the Matic network, and then that's it. After that, you live fee free.
Yeah, but so if it's making that through just riding off of ERC20's computations, right? Is that what it's doing?
You know, I was talking to Scroll, and Scroll said he believes they were taking the value from somewhere else, but we couldn't really appreciate where you could take the gas fees away from, other than it's layer two, and they make their own liquidity pool, and somehow they absorb it. I'm not really sure.
Well, people have done this before in the past, just using the proof of work that Bitcoin's doing, for example, and just riding on top of it. It's that's not something new, so it can be done. It's just if there's enough interest to go onto it, I could definitely do it. That's pretty easy stuff
I was
to
it was
do.
curiosity. I'm just curious, like if a company can launch on Matic, launch on BNB, launch on Ethereum, launch on everything, and now you're basically like a nation state across all these different platforms.
If there was 1-to-1 swap, then it could probably, well, it could make sense either way. It's just it would need to be worth doing. There would need to be a significant
I
investor
know. I'm
base.
sorry. I'm like improving your project line by another 4 years. My bad, man. Shit.
No, I don't think by another 4 years. I think it's probably a copy paste of ERC20, and it would take me like a night to do. I would have to look at it, but it's probably really easy. It's just um, it's not launching it on Matic. It's that that would be a whole nother like group of investors I would have to invest time into attracting, and probably another group to run, and just it's like a more of an investment of
I guess
time
that's what I
to
was
run a
getting at. The
community.
whole other group to run, it goes away because you maintain the BREEP platform and product, but you just do it in an auto farm fashion across Matic, across this, across that. So everybody's going to BREEP, but it doesn't matter if they're going on Matic, on BNB, on Ethereum, and then in time, somehow all those pools, or even on your books on the back end on paper, all those vaults would be considered one massive liquidity pool
Oh, you're
somehow
saying
to another.
adding Matic farms as well to the rake farm?
No, no, I'm saying copy the BREEP platform onto the Matic network, just like QuickSwap. Copy the BREEP platform onto. Well, you
Well,
already got it on Ethereum. Never mind. My bad.
so yeah,
I,
that
I'm
would be
I'm just
that would,
thinking. I'm sorry. Forget what I said. Forget it.
We're
nah.
using a bunch of other APIs to access the other vaults, right? So if we went to Matic and we copied BREAP and we copied the rake farm, we wouldn't have the optimizer function because, as far as I know, there aren't a bunch of yield farm APIs that we could plug into, like we have with PancakeSwap and BDollar and Goose and Viking and these other ones that um, that are APIs that we can plug into that will get us into whatever the farm has the highest APY. I don't know if all that's going on Matic yet, right? If it is, then
For
Yeah.
Can I
maybe.
ask you, what two factors do you think are the biggest to watch in determining when or if the emissions will outpace the buybacks or vice versa?
Well, currently, right now, so do you say the emissions will outpace the buybacks? Is that what you
Well, I
asked?
guess I'm trying to understand, like since you guys are algorithmically trying to like nurture the buybacks to be healthy for the ecosystem, I'm trying to determine at what point, with all these people joining new pools, that the emissions might either surpass the buybacks or the buybacks would either surpass the emissions. Like, is there a metric that you can use to determine that at this point?
Well, see, the emissions are not increased at all. The emission rate is 0.8 rake every block and will remain 0.8 rake per block. So every time we add something like these Moonwalker vaults, the emission rate wasn't increased. There was no additional cell pressure being added to the system.
Oh, I see. I see.
All that's doing is taking rake that would otherwise go to other vaults that have a lesser buyback ratio and um, allocating it to these vaults which have a much larger um, buyback and burn ratio. So when we introduced these vaults, we just took a bunch of rake about 25 to 30% of all of the rake that was being minted to other vaults that only are doing um, about 1% of the burn and buyback on rake price, and migrated that rake into the vaults that are doing 90% buyback burn. So we just greatly increased the buy pressure and the burn, the buyback and burn ratio without adding any kind of emission rate. So I would say the what I would watch for, I guess, is the amount of capital that's being used for the buyback and burns versus the amount of capital that is currently in the TVL, because I will tell you how much TVL is currently available for doing the buyback and burns, and that can give you some hint. But the thing is, we're right now we've only altogether only about 15% of all of the capital locked up so far has gone into buyback and burns. So we're just getting started with that. and the farm is only like maybe 2 hours old or something. I'm not looking at time. I've been doing a million things, but yeah, the farm is like 3 hours old. So there's going to be a ton more TVL coming into it, and we've only used about 15% of the TVL currently. So we're not anywhere close to that tipping point. And which I mean, I think it's hard to ignore, but if it can be communicated correctly to people, like I have to blame myself, I guess. Like, I've tried to explain this, but if it's not fully understood, I have to blame myself. That if people thought that these pools are, we would need some other pool that only does 1% of the buyback ratio to somehow have some massive impact on the project. That would be my fault, I guess, if people thought that, but that's just what needs to be communicated. So that's why I'm here and doing AMAs and all of that.
Hey, folks, I have a question. I know that those pools are locks for life. And what about if we give people option to pull their money whenever they want, but we'll give a penalty, 30%, 40%, whatever we'll decide. And whenever that percent, the guy, when he pull the money, will lose it, it will go straight to burn. And then I think that we'll burn more coins.
So that could be an option to add something in the future. Currently,
Yes, in the future.
the funds right now in these wallets aren't actually locked like how you might think they are. They're not just sitting in a wallet, right? So they're going into a contract that is looking when for example, so in the WBNB vault for the Moon Locker, what it's doing. So for the past couple, we did it manually, just to be cautious. But we are now that we see that it's working perfectly. When I get off this, it's gonna be we're gonna run the automated contract, and what it's going to do is look at it's going to look at when the pancake swap WBNB cake or the BUSD WBNB pair compounds, and when it does that, it knows that's when it's time to do the buy and burn back, because that's when the algorithm that we're currently using to determine when the best time to do that is it. So we're currently using a contract that uses a bunch of back tested data and is currently every time it does a buyback and burn and compounding, it checks a few values to see if that was the optimal time to do it, and it can be adjusted by a few minutes, and it's always adjusting it slightly, and it's time weighted as to not make big adjustments any one time. So these funds, there's no option right now to say, all right, you could get a percentage back or something if you wanted to withdraw at some point, because this value isn't just sitting in a contract somewhere. The value is going to buy rake and to buy BREAP, and then that BREAP is being burnt. So you're essentially locking the value into the rake currency and into BREAP. So yeah, once that value is locked into rake, it's in there. There's no that's just, it's creating a new price floor for rake and for BREAP every time. And that's a great thing for people who are in a vault where you are in there for good, but you're being paid rake for as long as the farm is functional. It's a really good thing to have the price floor of rake continue to go higher and higher. So in the future, that could be something that could be implemented, but that would mean that the burn and buyback ratio would be a lot lower, right? So it's possible, but it's just you're going to take hits either way. it's always a compromise.
Hey, can you help me understand when you're on these swapping pools, why do the coins have to be like swapped through like Ren BTC, then to like Mantra DAO, then to like finally BNB, or like why do things have to go through these chain of events to get to your ultimate coin? I'm just always been curious about the multi transitions.
So they find the pairs with the most liquidity so that you have the least amount of slippage, and it'll route through those pairs to give you like the best, the cheapest route to get to your final swap.
Roger that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and some of the pairs, there was some bleeding out going on with that. Like, I can't remember the exact pairs, but the ones that were going through stable coins on Uniswap, they were getting bled out. They were calling them vampire bots or something that was taking advantage of that, doing some sort of arbitrage in between all of those. But yeah, it's just trying to get you the best rate.
Vampire bot. I love it.
Is
Dracula
that
coin.
is that like when on Ethereum they're using the A flash loans with the vampire bots to get the best arbitrage and doing big flash loans? Is that similar to that?
Yeah, but they don't. It doesn't take a ton of liquidity to do it, so there's no need for flash loans. But if you go on Medium and type black hole in Uniswap V2's front end router is draining the value of tokens, or if you just do like Uniswap black hole or something, you'll see the Median article about it.
Cool. Give it a wee read. Cheers.
Yeah, it's let me see. Yeah, so it was pairs that were going through DAI, USDC, USDT, Comp, or Maker were being trained little by little. I think that they might have pushed an update to fix this, though. If they didn't, it would have been a big issue. So, but yeah, people were using Buildo and Unify to do it. So, this was months ago, though. So I'd have to think that they probably fixed it, or else it would be a much bigger issue right now that people would be talking about.
Sorry, Forex. Obviously, BDeep's quite an innovative token, right, in terms of the tokenomics. And I've been quite interested.
You got off.
That, you know,
I can't hear you.
Am I back? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Is that good?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sweet. So yeah, I was just thinking, are you looking at any more like experimental tokens apart from the big market cap guys that bring in liquidity? Are you looking at any more experimental tokens in terms of tokenomics and that?
Yeah, we're thinking about in a couple weeks launching a new token that will be similar to Rake. It's going to be available on the Rake farm, but it's slightly different because instead of doing an APY based on your share of a pool, it's a percentage per day. So you essentially buy this token, lock the token in the staking vault, and then the vault pays you 1% per day for 365 days of that specific token. And there's also a referral program with a team building aspect, so you'd make 10% more for the first person you refer, and then you can build teams where you're getting a little bit more for if the person you referred refers people, and basically a setup like that, similar to Bankroll Flow, but we would make it deflationary. So there's, instead of just doing it like that, there's also a burn on every transaction, and we would like to see not frictionless rewards in the sense where every holder gets a tax on each transaction. Like with BREAP, it's 1% of every transaction is burned, 1% goes to holders. With this, we would like to do something where 1% is burned, or maybe 2%, or whatever we decide to burn, and then another percentage goes to people in the staking protocol. So that's something that hasn't been done yet, that I definitely think would have a lot of demand, because we already see bankroll flow on Tron has a lot of demand on a crappier system, but we would do this on a much better system with a equal or larger than investor base. We would make it deflationary, and we would punish weak hands by rewarding the stakers through a tax on each transaction. So that's something I'm very interested in doing, and I'm interested in adding that to the Rake farm in the next like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm gonna start working on it like basically right away.
That's similar to Tron case then.
To what?
Tron case.
Tron
So if you
case?
troncase.io, yeah, it's similar. You get 300% at the end of it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Tron projects that do something like this. The thing with I don't really mess with Tron at all, because there's a lot of like unscrupulous development teams, and I've seen a lot of their projects just kind of disappear and get rugged or liquidated or whatever happens with them. But there are like some examples like Bankroll Flow and Bankroll, which has been going on for years now. And as long as you properly incentivize onboarding, and you limit the compounding that people can do with their rewards, you can have these systems go on for years and years and years. And if you do something like taxing transactions and add a burn ratio to offset some of the tokens that are emitting, then I don't see any reason why it couldn't just keep going on, as long as there's demand for this kind of thing, which, I don't see any. I don't see a scenario where people just don't want to be in these kinds of farms getting APY anymore. So, that could go on for years and years, just like Bankroll has. So I think we can do it better, though, through introducing a deflationary aspect and a tax on weak hands that goes to stakers.
Hey, for the game theory of punishing weak hands, I just immediately thought of that game where you gotta like try to smack your friend's hands before he pulls them away or something, something like that.
Yeah,
Or you
I
just
know
smack
that
their
game.
hand real quick before they pull out.
Yeah, I used to play that with my uncle. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Forex. The reason I ask as well is because, yeah, I've seen an interesting token that also just burns with transactions, and it started at 1%, it's going to 10%, but I like the concept of getting the reward as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right now with what we're doing with Rake is even better than a typical deflationary type of protocol. With a typical deflationary protocol, what happens is someone buys 100, whatever the token is. Let's just make a token called whatever it's called. I don't know. Burn. A token called Burn.
100x.
So they buy this token called Burn, and that makes it complicated. Let's just say it's called Desk, just to make it easy. So they buy a token called Desk. Desk has a 2% burn protocol on it. So what happens is they buy 100 Desk. They get 98 because 2 is burnt on the buy transaction. Then they move it to a different wallet, say, or they don't. They just hold it until they sell it. And then when they sell it, 2 more percent are burned. So now all they have is 96 tokens. So they bought 100, and now they're selling 96 because that's all they have now. So when the tokens do a full buy sell cycle, there has been some liquidity that's been added to the pool that cannot be taken out. but it takes the full cycle for this value to be appreciated, to actually see that value in the price. With what we're doing with Rake Farm, the percentage of TVL is going directly to buying rake from the pool and sending it to a burn address. So it's not so we're kind of front running the total cycle to get rid of the last half of the cycle, the need for the last half of the cycle. We're adding the BNB to the pool to remove the tokens, to burn them. So you have an immediate price appreciation. There's no having to sell the token back into the farm to see that appreciation. So it's immediate price impact every single time it does a buyback and burn, and that's it's a more efficient way and a more immediate way to do these kinds of buybacks, removing the tokens directly from the farm and instantly affecting the BNB to token ratio in the pool. Yeah, so there's not many projects that are doing anything like this. There's a couple, like for example, Auto is doing half of the buyback burn ratio that we're doing. So they're compounding and using 1.5% of all rewards to do their buyback and burn. We're using 3% for our buyback and burn for our, for example, Pancake Swap, $, Goose, and Viking vault. And then for Moonlocker vault, we're doing a full 90% of all the value that goes in there. So yeah, it's much more aggressive way of doing it, but it's still sustainable because that value is there in the contract to buy it. It's not we're not removing tokens that haven't been backed up by capital. That capital is going directly into the pool when we remove them to burn them. So it's sustainable and it's much more aggressive, which is good for the price.
Do you ever see yourself rebranding in the future as you get more and more popular, or are you going to stick with this forever?
As far as what, like my name or something?
Yeah, the B-Re project. I'm just trying to envision like 3 years from now when this thing's like completely blowing up, and if the name or the marketing creates a problem, or if it's already been thought through on the long term, like when you're huge.
Well, we've talked about that before in the past. I mean, there's it's kind of a it's like a two-sided mirror type thing
No,
where
I'm not asking if you're going to do it. I'm asking like if you had to do it, or if the community requested it, or whatever, blah blah blah, whatever. Could you just literally resurface your graphics and keep running with it, or is there like a whole lot of engineering that needs to go into it?
No, it would be a matter of, like, as far as the token picture and all of that, yeah, it would be a matter of just like changing the favicon from the website and resubmitting to BSC scan and CoinGecko. It would take a couple of days to do, but like
But the
when I talked
name,
about it,
you'd have to make a new contract for the name, right? To
no, the
migrate
name I wouldn't change. No, so to change the graphics, like you said, I could do that easily. To change the name, it's possible. I don't see why we would, but how we would do that is we would just do a one-to-one swap where we would make people, we would airdrop. So what we would do is we would take our percentage of liquidity in the pool, remove it, use that to back the new token, and then make people swap the old one for the new one. And it's possible, but like,
yeah, Thux Finance just went through this whole thing where they're now changing themselves to Hyperloop because they had a problem with growth and problem with coin listings because of drugs, guns, hoes, all that.
Yeah.
And And you know, hey, I'm not lying, man. There's been way more than one occasion when people have called your thing rape coin, and that's cool. I'm just, you know, I mean,
Look,
it's not cool what it is, but I'm just saying the name. I'm concerned as you explode and grow and glow, and you know, if there's going to be an issue, because I did see thugs go through it, and they've transitioned, and you know.
if people are confusing B34P with rape, they're pretty retarded, right? So it's
No,
like,
I agree with you, but it has happened. I agree with you,
yeah,
I
but
but it
see
that's
has.
rape being confused with rape
yeah,
rather
that's
than
just that's people
BR34P.
trolling. That's people
Yeah.
trolling, and people are
Yeah.
gonna troll, right? So I really have no, I don't care about that. But I
Okay,
do
okay.
think, as far as the like people have asked about the we use like cartoons, right? So we use cartoons that there could be some sort of issue with that. Like we have a
Yeah,
Grim
mention
Reaper
that.
type of thing, and so but the thing with that is that yeah, it's a double-edged sword because our characters that we use are extremely memeable. We have a ton of great art. We have a ton of great memes, and that's really helped, I think, with you know, the shareability and the you know, like of the project. People like to be involved with it because it's a fun project to be involved in. So it's yeah, it's like a double-edged thing where I think it helps in a lot of ways, and potentially at some point there could be downsides to it. But I also think that some of these legacy institutions that might be the ones to look at it negatively are the ones that need to catch up to us, because we're the ones that are leading the charge, and
Yeah.
you can see that
Yes.
they are you know, they're coming over to us. We're not going over to them right now. They're the ones that are buying Bitcoin by the trillions, and you know.
Fuck yeah, bro. That's exactly right, man. I say that every day. I even posted on my LinkedIn. I posted brief finance on my LinkedIn, and I said, what blue blazer, gray slacks investor would ever look at this? I'll see you guys on the moon or something like that on my LinkedIn. And I got 600 followers, and I'm always posting blockchain shit on there. So
Cool. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I mean, there's plenty of people, smart investors, that look at the mechanisms and see value there. And you know, there'll always be a few people that won't invest in something for whatever reason, but the smart people look at the utility, they look at the mechanisms of the contracts, and make their decision based on that. That's it mostly.
all right. Well, if you ever face that in the future, just use Thugs Finance as an example, because they literally have done this, are doing this, and it's yeah, it can be done. It's not
Yeah,
easy.
I know a few projects that have done it, like Hex 2T, transition to Axion, because they were getting like sued by Richard Hart or something, and there's been a few of them. Like, but Axion's probably the largest one I know of, because they had like hundreds of millions of dollars in liquidity, I'm pretty sure, and they were able to transition no problem. So that's not a super issue, because you can just airdrop the new token to current holders and have them do a swap over. And as far as the changing the graphics and all that, that's something that takes 2 days. It's just like contacting BSC Scan and CoinGecko and wherever it's listing. Speaking of CoinGecko, they should be listing us. They could even list us today, if not today, tomorrow. It's been it takes 3 to 5 work days, and it's been 4 work days today. So it should be today or tomorrow we get listed on CoinGecko, which will get a lot of eyes. So that's a good thing.
That's amazing thing.
hmm If there's any other questions, if not, I'm probably gonna jump into the my voice chat on our group to see what's going on in there, and to address some of the things that are going on there, and to launch this contract to do it, to start doing these buybacks automatically.
Yeah, I
All
was
right,
gonna
thanks,
ask. You
Dylan.
guys had a countdown today,
Yeah, we did.
right?
Yeah.
What was the countdown for? I forgot. I'm a bit late.
The countdown was to when the new vaults got listed. We had 4 different pancake swap vaults added. We had 2 Viking vaults added, and we had 8 Moonlocker vaults, which are vaults that you lock up your capital, and that capital that is in the Moonlocker contract goes to buying the reward token, and then burning the reward token it buys, and then it gives you a high APY of that reward token. So essentially, it's like swapping your whatever token you want to trade for the reward token, but instead of getting it all at once, it's doing sort of a I'm trying to think of the word. It's a it does sort of a dollar cost averaging for you, where you put your funds in there, and then it puts that capital into the reward token over a few days, and it gives you an ROI in that reward token constantly into the future. So at the current rates now, you're ROIing in 3 to 4 days, and then until the farm is not functional anymore, which will be years from now, you're going to continue to get rake rewards. So you're buying rake by getting into these contracts, but instead of just buying rake and instead of using $100 and buying $100 worth of rake, getting into these contracts, what you're doing is you're taking $100 and you're saying, over the next 4 days, give me $100 worth of rake, and then into the future continue to give me more rake, right? And it's basically dollar cost averaging for you, but it's a lot better than dollar cost averaging, because once that capital that you put in there is used to fully buy the rake and increase the rake price, it continues to give you rewards on top of that. So that's what we launched today. That's what the countdown was all about.
So, if the moon vault
Thanks.
reduces, can you hear me?
Yeah, you said if the moon vault.
As the moon vault reduces, what would be the difference between investing in the rake B root pool compared to the rake moon vault?
So you just said as the something decreases. What did you say? As the what decreases?
The rake moon vault. If that reduces down to like 5%, would that not be the same as investing in the rake B root pool?
You mean the APY?
Yeah.
Well, it's
There isn't a rake moon locker.
So the difference is yeah, if the APY was the same, then yeah, it would be the same. I mean, I don't know what you're asking really. If you invested in the single locker vault and the APY went down to what the other vaults are, would it be the same? Yeah, it would be the same value. The difference is in the other vaults, the capital isn't going to increasing the price of rake, right? So especially the rake BNB vaults, that
it's like a lot going on.
None of that capital goes back into increasing the price of rake. The main difference is 90% of the capital going into these Moonlocker pools are going directly to inflate the price of rake and create a new price floor for it every time. So yeah, the main difference is one of them will continue to give you APY forever into the future. The other one, when you withdraw, you don't continue to get APY, but you can withdraw. And the other one will continue to give APY into the future, and it increases the price floor of rake and the price of rake, which is what you're getting as a reward token. So
So in essence, everybody benefits. Everybody who invested in rake benefits, whether it's a moon vault or in a LP pool with B reap and rake.
Definitely. When people get into the Moonlocker vaults, that that benefits the system more than any other vaults, which is why we introduced them. And currently, right now, the APR for say WBNB is 18.55%. So it's like it's 3 to 5 times higher on the Moonlock vaults than the other vaults, right? So you're going to APY 3 to 5 times faster in the Moonlocker vault. So people that are not sure, saying, "Oh, should I get into Rake and I'll be able to withdraw at some point?" You could say, "Well, if I get into Moonlocker, I'm going to ROI and make more than the initial deposit I would have made in Rake in less time, and it's going to appreciate the price of Rake, which is going to make the rewards even greater, right?" So currently, it makes more sense to get into the Moonlocker vaults than to get into the any of the other vaults, because in the amount of time it would take you to make the same APY in the Moonlocker vault, you could have been in the Moonlocker vault. You could have made more than your initial, plus a lot more APY on top of that. So you don't have to worry about not being able to withdraw, because you already made more than the principal you would have made in the other vaults in rewards, right? So
Yeah, I did notice that. The only thing I thought was that obviously you'll be starting in a minus when you enter the Moon Vault. Would the APY in the Moon Vault remain higher than the other vaults, just due to like loyalty for help for the brand, for the business?
well, I don't think it has to be anything doing with loyalty. That's people are taking a slightly higher risk potentially
Yeah,
getting into
of
those,
course.
but the APY is significantly higher as well. So it's
Would it
just,
stay significantly higher, or is that going to reduce over the next few days?
well, it depends what people do. But the thing is, when people go into these farms, it's you're not going into the farm and completely losing this capital. So people are thinking that when you go into the farm, that capital is just sitting in a wallet and it's gone. That's not what's happening. That capital is going into Rake at Rake BRB, but the buyback itself, the total buyback is 90%. So that value has just been transferred into the reward token that you're about to get. So that value isn't lost. You're just basically, instead of getting an initial swap, if you say you swap on Pancake Swap, Rake for whatever token, BUSD for Rake, you would swap it, you would get a 99 0.3% or 99.7% swap BUSD for Rake. But then you would just have that Rake. In this case, when you put into this contract, that value is going towards Rake. So 90%, or 70% actually, because some of it goes to BREAP, but 90% of the value goes into buyback, and then now you're getting paid that token that you've just appreciated the value of. And in this case, over the next 2 or 3 days, you will have made your principal back, and then after that, it's all profit. In the Rake farm, in some of these farms, in the highest rewarding farm, it's gonna take about 6 days to ROI, right? So you have 6 days, you ROI, and then you can remove your capital, right? So you just made like a 2x basically. In the Moon Vault, you can get into USDT in 3 days. You can ROI, and then you can do a 2x in the next 2 or 3 days without considering the price appreciation. But since everybody that gets into those is also increasing the price of rake by 90% each time, you have to look at it as the price of rake would also be doubled with if you're looking at it as a one single close calculation without taking everything else into account. So in that sense, you're making your principal and the amount of profit you would have made in the second highest vaults pairs, which is the rake ones. You're making your principal plus a 2x, twice as fast as you would have made it if you went into the WBNB rake pair, for example, right? So you're making a 2x in half the time and getting your principal back at these current rates. So yeah, and it's only like 3 to 5 days that you would have to wait for that. So yeah, at these current rates, it definitely makes sense to go into the Moonlocker vaults over anything, because you're essentially just transferring your value into rake and then letting them pay you your ROI over the next 2 days, and then after that, it's all profit, and the value that's going into those is going directly into buying rake, which is going to double the price. If you were only looking at the Moonlocker vaults, you would say it would double the price. When you include all the other vaults, what they're going on, you can't make like an exact calculation like that, but that's about what it is.
So in the ideal world, all rake holders will jump into a moon vault right now to skyrocket the rake price.
Yeah, well, see, that's so if you're already in rake WBNB, it's a pretty good return. If you've been making a return in there and you're compounding, then I don't know if I would remove liquidity from there. If I was going to move liquidity from there, it would be to go into the Moonlocker vaults. But what I would be doing, I would say my strategy that I would use is I would buy BREAP, because buy pressure is going into BREAP and rake. I would then take whatever token I would use to buy rake, and instead of buying rake, I would put it into the Moonlocker. I would ROI on that in the next 2 days, and then anything after that is profit. And I would take that profit in rake, and I would pair it with the BREAP I just bought and go into the rake BREAP liquidity pool, and just keep compounding that way. I think that's how you're going to get the most return possible
Right.
from the farm.
This is a question relating to the subject. You guys, I don't know if they're recording, but this is a question a cool guy asked. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask it. If I have 2 B reaps, should I put it in the LP pool or just hold it? Where would the benefit be? Shout out to Luigi.
You can't. You need B&B, right? So you have B&B to pair it with, or rake to pair it with.
So would it be beneficial for me to hold 2 B reaps, or go pair 1 B reap along with a BNB and then put it into a liquidity pool? Or how would that be more beneficial?
It would make sense to pair it and go into the farm with it, but you would just so you would want to sell 1 B reap and then use the liquidity from that to pair it with B&B, or you just or you have B&B to pair with B-Reap. If I had B&B to pair with B-Reap, I would definitely pair it and get into the farm. If you don't have B&B and you want to sell 1 B-Reap to get into it, that would be it would be a slightly riskier play, but it should pay off. It should only take a few days to have that pay. It should take about 5 days to have that pay off, and then everything after that is profit if you got into the B-Reap WBNB pool.
There you go, Louis, to the moon, to the moon.
Yeah,
All right, yes.
So yeah, it would be up to you. Obviously, if I was you, I would just take the 2 B-Reap. I would pair it with B&B and just get in there, and then take any rake you have and continue to compound it into whatever pool. If you have more BNB, compound it with more BNB, or if you have more B reap, pair it with B reap, whatever. See, I would say the ideal thing to do would be to probably take one B reap, pair it with BNB, and then go into the B reap BNB pool, and then farm rake, and then take the other B reap. And when you farmed enough rake to be able to pair it with the value of that other BNB you hold, then go into with that other B reap you hold, go into the rake B reap pool with that.
Sweet. Cheers for that info, guys.
So
Yeah,
you'll
no
get into
problem.
these moon vaults and push the rake price up.
Yeah, I mean, right now it makes sense. You're gonna get the highest return in the Moonlocker price. I mean, in the Moonlocker vault, you're gonna get the highest return. You're going to get your principal plus do a 2x in the time that it takes you to get your principal in a lot of these other pools, and the price of rake is going to be increased because of it. So I mean, it totally makes sense to do. Like, being worried about not being able to withdraw your token would make sense if you were getting the same value as the other pools, because you would say, all right, I'm getting the same value of the other pools, but with this pool I can withdraw my tokens at the end. That goes out the window when you say, all right, I can get into this pool, I can make my principal back and do a 2x in the same time it would take me to make my principal back in the other pools. And it's a slightly higher risk, but at this point, the APIs are so high that what you're risking is maybe it takes an extra half a day or an extra day. So, you know.
So one question I noticed during the market, when the market was going down, the entire B Reap finance was actually stable and staying afloat at a pretty good
Yeah.
level. So it was like in its own void. So when these situations happen and these new updates, would we be expecting a similar thing, or now it's more like it's in a consolidation phase and being one with the market flow?
Well, so I think that right now we have a lot of people trying to figure out what they're doing, what's going on, and not sure what they're going to get into. But it's going to the word's going to spread more and more people are going to get into it. And there's a lot of people who, as soon as it launched, they got into whatever pool they were going to get into, and then they're just looking to cash out as soon as possible, just to get out, make a little bit of profit, and get out just for a quick flip. But then there's a whole lot more people that are going to get into this and keep compounding and keep earning and compounding their rewards. And so I see it at a point where it's volatile at first, with some big spikes and big moves down, and then it's going to start to stabilize, where most of the rewards that people are making are getting recompounded back into the system, and the buybacks that we're doing are propping up the price, so the price will remain stable or continue to go up as people are getting rewards in the token. Right now, less, because a lot more people have joined the farm just in the time that we've been talking. Right now, less than 10% of the TVL in these farms have even gone to buyback and burns yet. So, I mean, there's a ton more capital to go into buying and burning these tokens. Something like 40 reap, 40 rake, might even be more at this point, have already been burnt and removed from circulation. Yeah, so I see that happening. I see there being some people that are looking for a quick flip that'll make a volatile, uh, you know, quick spike and then quick dips, quick spike, and then after maybe 8 hours, 12 hours, one day, the price is going to stop being so volatile, get into a state where it's just, people are compounding most of the rewards, and the buybacks and burns are continuing to push up the price.
Just make sure to give us one nice manual burn before you set it on auto.
Yeah, I probably will. I'll probably do the WB&B because WB&B
So
is looking real
just to be
nice.
clear, when a person stakes on Venus pools, their funds is technically stuck there, but they are going to get it back as soon as possible in basically rewards, correct?
No. So right now we have a proposal with Venus. So so what happened was, we launched our whole farm. About 5 minutes after we launched, we were watching the contract. We saw that there could be an issue, and then we talked with the people who audited Auto's contracts, and we talked to the beefy devs, and we came to the conclusion that that there could be a potential issue in the future with the Venus pools if we let them continue to operate. So we immediately paused them. Uh, but the funds in the Venus pool were fully collateralized, which means the value in that pool is actually on the Venus platform. So we were fully leveraged.
What exactly was the problem with the Venus pool? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
The problem with the Venus pools were it was an issue with allowance, basically, where the allowance could be set to 0, and if the allowance was set to 0, then no one could interact with the contract anymore. So even the people at the even people with Venus couldn't use they have so the people at Venus have a way to basically force transactions uh on their vaults, and that's kind of like a safety backdoor type thing. It takes governance to do that. They need at least 300,000, whatever their token is, to be put into this governance thing to decide that they're going to interact with these vaults. But it is possible. We realized that there was an issue that could make it so the the contracts that we use, our fork of auto, could end up not allowing for this safety mechanism to be able to be used. So we didn't want that. We wanted to be cautious. So we stopped like 5 minutes after 5 minutes after the farm launch. We stopped allowing deposits into that, but because we were fully collateralized and we did it the right way, Venus has all of the value leverage on their platform, and we have full collateral for it on our contract. So that means that all Venus has to do is deleverage us, and that will free up all of the capital that's in there. So so right now the people that are in Venus, it's like less than 4% of the capital in the total farm, because we shut it off so fast. They're getting rewards. So I know I've personally spoken with almost everybody that's in the Venus pools, and I was able to determine that by asking them how much they put in there, and looking at how many actors there were that got into it. And I've been able to determine that I have spoken with almost every single person in the Venus pool. And the last time I spoke with them, they've all ROI'd except for a few people that got in like in the last minute, and they got into the low APY pair, and they were at 80% APY, and that was 2 days ago. So even they are probably ROI'd at this point. So the plan with that is to create a proposal, which has already been done, send it to the Venus devs, and they're going to put it on their their governance protocol and allow people to use their tokens to vote to deleverage that capital. Now, we did everything the right way.
But in the meantime, it is in there. It can't be taken out. Correct?
No, in the meantime, it's in there. Well, it's not actually in the value is on the Venus platform, and where we have that value fully collateralized in our wallet. So currently, I believe all of them have ROI'd, and we have a direct path to getting that capital deleveraged from there and freed up from the Venus platform. So
Because what
that's
I'm trying
where
to
right now.
I'm trying to oversimplify it basically. If I were to put in 100 100 euros worth of a token in there, or $100 worth of a token, I can
No,
just pull it right back out, right?
no, we're not
Okay.
allowing deposits in there because for the same reason Beefy isn't allowing deposits in their Venus Auto pools, and that's because we realized that there was an issue with Auto's platform that they pushed to a bunch of other farms that use their contracts, that there could be a potential situation in the future where the allowance could get set to 0, and if something were to happen, we wouldn't be able to use this governance protocol in Venus to do a type of emergency withdrawal. And we want to be cautious. We don't want to put ourselves in a position, if anything was to happen, where we wouldn't have an emergency backdoor to get people their funds. So that's
Okay.
why we shut down all deposits on the Venus vaults, just like Beefy did, and I'm sure just like other farms that used Auto's Venus contracts. Yeah. So we're being super careful with it. And so with Venus, those were the only single asset vaults that we had. So we decided, instead of opening those back up and putting our investors in a situation where if anything went wrong, we wouldn't have an emergency withdrawal like we do with these moon lockers. If something were to ever go wrong with this moon locker contract, we have an emergency withdrawal and we can get all of the funds for our investors. But with Venus, that wasn't the case. So that's why we shut that down, to be very careful. And with Venus, like I was saying before, the buyback ratio for it is it's only about 1% of the buyback ratio for Moonlocker, because it's it's only 3% of the daily APR. No, sorry, not even 3%. Actually, it is 3%. Yeah, it started out 1.5%. We doubled it to 3%, but it's 3% of the daily APR that's being used for buybacks. Whereas with Moonlocker, we're using 90% of the TVL. So, the buybacks for Venus are only about 1% the size of the buybacks for Moonlocker. So we're allowing the single asset stakings, the same single assets that you could stake in Venus, but we're doing it in a way that allows for much higher rewards, and those rewards are much more sustainable because a lot more of the value is going into the rake and BREAP price and being locked in there. So overall, I think this is a much better option. I would have preferred to just go in with the Moonlocker right away and not even mess with Venus, because if we're having single asset staking, then it might as well go as much as possible into buying back our reward token. It's just we already had the APY for Venus available, so it was simple to integrate it. So we did, and then we were the people who discovered the issue with Otto's contract. So yeah, that was kind of not lucky, but we did our due diligence. And if we hadn't done that, then a bunch of other farm projects would be running contracts right now that could have a potential major critical issue with them. But we're very careful about what we do. We audit, and we ran it on a test net before we opened, and then everything was fine on the test net. And then when we ran on a live net, not on a local machine, when we started interacting with the other contracts, we were like, oh, we could see how this could be a potential issue, that if something were to happen, there would be no emergency exit function through using Venus's governance platform. So we didn't want to put any of our investors in that situation. So we just paused it right away.
All right, thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem. So right now, I would say that everybody in Venus has ROI'd. They're going to continue to get rewards, and we have a proposal in the works right now to get that capital deleveraged and freed up and given right to them. So that's basically handled for a short-term and a long-term solution in the works.
Thanks for answering all of our questions.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I think I'm going to jump into the voice chat for my main group, but I appreciate you guys' interest. I would say if you're going to do anything right now, if you're going to interact with any of the vaults right now, what I would probably do is buy BREAP. If I had $100 with the USDT, I would take 30% of it, go into BREAP. I would take 70% of it, go into the USDT Moonlocker. I would farm rake at a very high rate, and I would take the rake that I get as reward, and I would pair it with the BREAP, and I would compound it into the BREAP rake pool. And that's how I see getting the maximum return from your investment in the farm. Doing something like that, you're going to end up at the current rates.
What would
it's
you
at
do
right now.
once the B reap is out?
Oh, you're pairing the BREAP with the rake that you're farming from the Moonlocker. So that's how you would be compounding the rake rewards that you're getting from these pools, is by pairing it with the BREAP and putting it into the BREAP rake vault. So you can continue to compound your rewards that way. And so you're in the vault with the highest rake rewards, which would be the Moonlocker vaults, and
Yeah,
you're
I'm saying once
compounding
you
those.
have.
What? Yeah. So
I thought
you're
Don was farming already, but yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting into the pools with the highest possible rake rewards, and you're compounding those rake rewards by pooling them with ETH. I mean, not with ETH, sorry, with BREAP, and then getting compounding them into the BREAP farm, and you're seeing the price appreciation from rake and BREAP because the buybacks from the Moonlocker vaults are going to buy BREAP and rake. So yeah, that's how you're going to see maximum price appreciation from it.
But
So
once you've paired all of your B reap, would you then start to sell half of the rate?
well, that's up to you. I mean, that's it. You just have to work out your own strategy for investing. What I could say is, in a few weeks, we're going to be introducing that drip function, and that will be tied into rake, and that will be another use case for rake. So yeah, we're going to be having something very soon that's going to allow you to make 365% a year
Okay.
at very low
But I'm
risk
trying to
with
say
rake.
once I've paired all of my available. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I heard what you said, but it's just that's your own investment strategy. So I don't know if you want to at that point take some profit, like realized profit, turn it into ETH or USDT or something, then yeah, that would make sense to do.
Thank you so much, Forex, for answering all of the questions. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, guys. I appreciate the interest, and I'll be back in here later. I'll check in later tonight or tomorrow or something.
Thank you.
And thanks for
Thank you.
Nikolai for the AMA, and yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you
Yeah,
later.
wicked,
Thank
man.
you, bro.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, Satoshi Street Bets. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you. Great community and always pleasure to
The best. The best.
Yeah, honestly, I appreciate you guys. I'm gonna head out. Just want to say thank you, guys, and I'm gonna join our voice chat. keep it up and make those gains. Let's meet all in the moon, guys. Yeah, on the moon, not in the moon. Bye. Love y'all.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, Cryptonauts. Peace.